the Broncos, and it was a hammering handed down. Another one for the Broncos to suffer 27 points to 6 in favour of the Knights, although one of the few bright lights for the Broncos was Herbie Farnworth playing in the centres. He made 128 metres. We had a fan viewing, Alan.
Yep, so did we agree it's David Hunter?
That's what he didn't correct us on it, did he?
At David Hunter, with no vowels. David Hunter. Duvda, as somebody used to say. The Broncos are playing like a group of individuals, no direction from their halves. It doesn't matter how big or strong they are, they don't have any direction. Farnworth was good. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that in terms of Farnworth. He did all right in an unfamiliar position, as you say, at centre. Not somewhere he's played, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think he did play.
Last.
He did play last year a game in the centres. But he's just showing his adaptability, isn't he? And I think he's showing deservingness of being in the side. He tried a few flick passes to set things up that didn't quite come off, but let's face it, that was more than anyone else in a Broncos shirt tried, and closer to anything else coming off from a Broncos shirt than anyone tried. Whereas the Knights they didn't really do much to win this game.
They didn't have to. I mean, unfortunately, when you're talking about this game, you have to start with the Broncos, which I don't like to say when, I'd rather talk about the winning team rather than the losing team. Yeah. But the Broncos, so if you look at their established players, they've got injuries like anybody has. But if you look at their established players, Milford, Boyd, players of that nature, they are doing nothing in this team. They are not helping them at all. And the few bright spots are players like Xavier Coates, who's young and raw and fast and big. Farnworth was pretty good. Their forwards are, a bit hot and cold at the moment, but they have got a young set of forwards that are generally regarded to be pretty good. But they're getting no direction from halfback. Brodie Croft is okay, but he's more of an organizer than a kind of attacking maestro for me. And they're just getting nothing out of Milford, which is not helpful because they're showing nothing in attack, and they're very porous at the back. And it's in this new kind of environment where holding onto the ball and getting set restarts kind of is dominant. They're just not getting a chance in any of these games because their halves are not putting them in the game.
Yeah, I think Isaac Luke did okay for his first game. Came in obviously late into the week and that.
Oh yeah, of course,
sort of thing. I feel like they're definitely not getting anything out of Milford. And at fullback, what's Jermaine Asako offering once he gets into the opposition side of the field? Nothing.
No, Jermaine
Asako's a great goal
Asako's
kicker, but
he's a winger who's filling in at fullback. He's not a fullback.
Yeah,
as far as I can tell.
Looking at maybe other options at fullback, Farnworth, Boyd, some of the other people around the squad. What's that young kid who didn't play in this game but played in the last two? The kid who starred against Britain last year for Tonga at fullback. Can't remember his name. He's at the Broncos, isn't he?
All right. I forget.
Anyway, but on the night side of things, the Saifiti brothers,
yes,
were absolutely exceptional. Particularly the starting brother, Daniel, but yeah, absolutely exceptional in this game. And really, the forwards tied in so many people, and that's why tries like Mann's try was so easy to score.
Yeah, are we sure the Saifitis are just twins and they're not like triplets or quadruplets or something? Because they seem to be everywhere. It seemed like they were doing more effort than even two of them could do.
Yeah, because I don't remember the backs doing much at all in this game, if anything. It just seemed like every time the Knights had the ball, it was a Saifiti absolutely levering it up the middle of the field.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just, yeah, I mean, obviously, Daniel got a try, didn't he? Yeah, they were very. The kind of the Knights were good enough, but I mean, the first try, the Kurt Mann try, I mean, he just went in and he wasn't even touched.
No.
about 10 metres out, and you just can't do that. I mean, you know, the Broncos were abject, and I don't see how they're going to get any better. Because as I said, they're established players. Are not doing it for them.
I agree. Another side that maybe their established players aren't doing it for them, but certainly what it means is they're not doing it for the coach anymore. As this result led to the sacking of Stephen Kearney for the Warriors. It was the Rabbitohs 40, the Warriors 12. Burgess had 3 tackle busts and 180 metres. His strong form continues there for Tom Burgess, stepping out of his brother's shadows on his own there. But really, I mean, it was a game that had almost everything. You know, sim minnings around, lots of tries, lots of different types of tries. I think the Rabbitohs had the benefit of most 50-50 decisions for a second week in a row, but Latrell Mitchell's playing very, very well for them in that fullback spot, and he is showing creativity in the other end of the field. Like, he's the opposite of what we talked about with Azarko. This, Latrell Mitchell really is showing lots of creativity, and I think Campbell Graham in the centres had a game where he actually looked really physical, considering he's a wiry thing, isn't he? I've never seen him look physical before, but in this game he showed some real physicality and scored a fantastic try.
Yeah,
as well.
I've been quite impressed with him since they resumed. He's not played very much in the centre. He's still learning the position, but yeah, he looks to have real talent, and yes, Mitchell gets all the plaudits, obviously, because he's a star name and everything, and he's throwing some great passes, some great Harbour Bridge passes and stuff, some great cutout balls and stuff. But yeah, it feels like they're coming together as a team. And kind of starting to fulfill a little bit of that promise that people thought they might have had at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I agree. So, especially with Cody Walker back in the halves, it looks a much more sort of experienced and organised halves. And when you've got someone so talented and powerful off the back of that, like Latrell Mitchell, and someone like Damien Cook, who's got so much pace out of dummy half, like I say, it balances things out. The one controversial moment in the game, though, also involved maybe the star of the game, Latrell Mitchell, and that was when he cleaned out David Fizatua on his return from injury as he was going in to score, and the match officials missed the high shot in the build-up to this, which maybe would have seen a penalty try, probably would have seen sim bin in for Latrell Mitchell. You have to feel it was kind of direct to the head, even though Fizatua was definitely ducking into it, and it was kind of a desperation thing. It wasn't an intentional bad hit as such. But even if that had have gone differently, it's hard to see that it would have hugely affected the outcome.
No, I mean, I think the Warriors have been the Warriors. They've been hot and cold. Since the resumption, they've won 2 and lost 2. I feel it's very harsh on Stephen Kearney, really. I mean, he did pick Gerard Beale to play on the wing, though. That's on him. He was fucking garbage. Yeah, but you've got to bear in mind the Warriors. They've got nothing. They've got a very threadbare squad, and sometimes even in straitened circumstances, you have to pick Gerard Beale. So I don't hold him responsible for that. Ultimately, to me, the Warriors have been they're the same Warriors as they were last year, as the year before. What's different now? I have no idea. It feels to me like it's a internal fallout more than pure result based. Because
I sort of lost the dressing room situation.
Either lost the dressing room or the fact that I don't know, maybe because all the administration staff are spending all this time together, maybe they're just getting on each other's wick. And
I mean, there's some experience in that pack. Tohu Harris, Adam Blair, but there's a lot of inexperience, and some of that inexperience also doesn't, to me, have the necessary talent level. People like Lawton, who came off the bench and like basically dropped a try. The young lad Katoa got injured, didn't he? Which was unfortunate because he showed great promise last week. Lachlan Burr, is that the same guy who was at Lee a few years ago and like didn't play every week in Super League?
I don't know if it was, but yeah, they're not blessed with talent, as you say, and it just feels like that they've been, Kearney's been picked on unfairly for this. For me, they're in incredibly difficult circumstances. They're away from home. They're having to loan players in. To me, it felt like a weird decision right now.
I agree.
Get rid of him at the end of the year if he's not taking the team where you want it to go. That's fair enough. Or even
get rid of him when you're back in your own country, in your own training environment. But because now a coach is basically going to have to come in, figure what the fuck's going on now for a while, and then refigure it all out when he actually sees where the club are based.
Yeah.
And you can't bring anyone in from outside. You can't bring a New Zealand coach or maybe a Sean Wayne or something over because they're not even going to be able to speak to the players for 2 weeks.
No, it feels like a weird decision.
Yeah.
Particularly when actually the Warriors weren't terrible in this match. They scored a couple of good tries. The beaten Cowboys the week before. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a weird decision to me.
Yeah, I agree. And there was a couple of decisions that went against them that maybe would have made it look a bit closer.
Yeah, of course.
And I think one thing that's understandable from the Warriors' point of view at the moment is when we're losing, we'll lose those extra couple of tries in the last 15 minutes because of the situation they're in.
Yeah, they do tend to. The heads do tend to go down a bit easier than some other teams. Yes, I think that. History has proven that.
Okay, so on to the next game to talk about, which was two of the sort of form teams, I suppose you could argue. The Panthers and the Storm. It finished 21 points to 14 to the Panthers.
Indeed.
I don't know if I watched any of this one, if I'm honest. I can't remember watching it, so I'm going to assume I didn't.
Well, I definitely did. Good game, this one. Two teams that you feel that they might be in the mix coming the end of the year. They're in my kind of top 6 best teams in the league. And you can't usually rely on the Panthers to get it over the line in these kind of games. They usually come up a bit short. But yeah, they were good in this one. They actually held on to a lead and didn't actually look like they were going to kind of capitulate. And as it was, they did the usual thing, get it wide to kick out, which was a great try, great kick. It looked kind of weird because it looked like no Storm player had actually gone up for the ball. But I just think that's the fact that Kikau is 7 foot tall and, a completely different build to everyone else. So when he takes the ball, like, plucking an apple from a tree and then puts it down, it makes it look easy, but that's because he's a freak in the nicest possible way. But yeah, they were well worth the win, Penrith. They'll be delighted.
Yeah, they are going well. I can't comment on this game in specifics, but they've certainly got some players that are playing at their peak form. And I think, you look at that lineup and you think there's people like Mansour's back to his international form, I'd say. Crichton's been a revelation this year. Tamau, Coruscant and Fisher Harris are really playing at a great level, I'd say, especially the latter of those two. And Willie Kikau has been the form left edge forward for the last year and a half, possibly, arguably.
Get it to Billy. But yeah, I mean, the two other players, just to mention, I like Brian Toto. I think he's fantastic on the other wing.
Brian too.
Brian too. That's
Brian
him.
As well.
Him too, yeah. And then obviously Dylan Edwards came back into this game at fullback, which kind of just, I think he's the player that they see long term at one, with kind of obviously clearing the halves, and it feels like they're. This was kind of close to their first choice 17, probably, and the result kind of bore that out, I think. So yeah, good win.
Yep. And how do we pronounce the name of this bench player for the for the Storm? Tino Fast